Good afternoon. I'd like to call the April 24th, 2024 meeting of the legislature to order. I'm Kevin Fred Demick. I'm vice chair of the board, and I'll be running the meeting today. Would you please rise if you are able and join Gretchen Hanchett in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Gretchen. Could you remain standing while Legislator Stockin gives the invocation?
Thank you. As we pause here before our meeting today, Lord, to thank you for your many blessings, for the wonderful county we have here, the beautiful part of your creation, the wonderful people that live and serve here. Thank you for that. We thank you for the gentleman that we recognize today, for his service, the example it's been to so many. And we are blessed to have others like that in this county. Thank you for that. I thank you for the state budget finally being passed, as challenging as it's going to be in so many ways, but for our representatives who work tirelessly fighting against the machine out there in Albany. But we pray for them, their safety, for them and their families. Pray that you would be with Joe as he seeks to fill Mr. Giglio's position as he works on that campaign. But we are blessed in so many ways. We thank you for those who serve us faithfully and protect us, and the first responders, so many different ways, in law enforcement. Be with them today, I pray. So guide us in our deliberations. May we make decisions that are good for the people and not for selfish or political gain. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, Phil. Madam Clerk, could you please do the roll call?
Mr. Barnes.
Present.
Mrs. Burdick. Here. Mr. Curran.
Here.
Mr. Sear.
Present.
Mr. Demick.
Here.
Mr. Fanton.
Here.
Mrs. Hanchett.
Here.
Mr. Harris. Mr. Havey.
Here.
Mr. Healy.
Here.
Mr. Ricky.
Here.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales.
Here.
Mrs. Root.
Here.
Mr. Rumfelt.
Present.
Mr. Stockin.
Here.
14 present, 1 absent. You were provided a copy of the board meeting minutes of April 10th. At this time, we need a motion to approve those minutes.
Can we get a motion, Ms. Hanchett? Second by Mr. Fanton. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried.
You are also provided a copy of the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of April 17th, and we need a motion to approve those minutes.
Can we get a motion? Ms. Root, second by Mr. Rumsfeld. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion is carried. I'd like to suspend the regular board meeting and open the public hearing for New York State Empire State Restore New York Rehabilitation Project Grant application requesting funding to rehabilitate 4 vacant properties in Allegheny County. Is there any members of the public that would like to provide comment? Seeing that there is none wishing to provide comments, we'll close that public hearing. And we will open public hearing number 2 on a local law authorizing 12 to 13-year-old licensed hunters to hunt deer with a firearm or a crossbow during hunting season with the supervision of an adult licensed hunter. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make comment? Please step up to the microphone out here, please.
They say you always need a visual. I brought one with me. I'll give it to Mr. Fanton here. My name's Joe Herdman. I live in Angelica. Belong to the Angelica Conservation Club. Up until last year, I was president for 3 years for the Allegheny County Federation of Sportsmen's Club. Also belonged to Scope here in Allegheny County, and belonged to the National Deer Association, which used to be Quality Deer Management Association, but they changed their name during COVID. So the picture we pass around is my grandson, Tanner. He, at the time when this resolution was first passed, was 12 years old, and was able to hunt in the youth hunt that we're talking about now. So that was his first deer that he'd taken, and I'm sure he'll remember that forever. It may have spoiled him. It was a pretty nice deer for your first deer, so. But, so I guess I pretty much represent some of the clubs in the county and the federation as well. I'd like to thank everyone for what they did back in 2021. I think that was the law that was introduced in the resolution was number 1. It says number 2 in 2021, and this year it's 2024. I'm just here to support the kids, the youth groups. Both my grandsons still shoot in the youth trap team from Genesee Valley School. So I like to see the youth in our county, participating in this kind of stuff. And the best of my knowledge, there's been no hunting accidents in that 12 and 13-year-old bracket in the last 3 years. So it seems to be working well, and it's safe. Those kids at that age, with the guidance of an adult, do well, and nothing has come forward as far as an accident of anything. So I won't take up much of your time. I wanted to speak on their behalf and say that as far as all the clubs in the county and the federation are approve of this extension of the new law, which section 11-0935, to continue that for another year into 2025. Thank you. Thanks for all your help. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Herdman, appreciate that. Is there any other comments from the public? With none, we'll close that public hearing. Reconvene the regular board meeting. At this time, we'd like to offer public comment. You may approach the microphone, say at this time the board will receive public comment. If there are any members of the public that wish to address the board at this time, please approach the podium, state your name and town of residence, and provide your comments. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Is there anyone that'd like to make a comment? Okay. With there being none, I'd like to make a public comment and introduce Joe Sempolinski, our ex-congressman, who would like to say a few words.
Thank you very much. And so I wanted to stop by and hear what was going on. I noticed there were several meetings that were happening across all the counties in this region within a couple of days. So I figured I'd hit them and make sure that I was learning what was going on. And so Mr. Dimick asked I'd give a little bit of an update because until certain paperwork was filed in Albany a few weeks ago, I was Mr. Giglio's chief of staff and was monitoring what was going on with the state budget very closely. And as was mentioned, it was late, and it was a little bit later even than usual with the repeated extensions. So I wish that our friends in Albany, especially those that serve in the majority party in Albany, had some of the wisdom and prudence and fiscal responsibility that we see in this chamber. Maybe some of those good ideas could be taken up to Albany. The state budget ended up at $237 billion. Now, to put that in perspective, the state of New York has fewer people than the state of Texas. The state of New York has fewer people than the state of Florida. Yet we spend more than those two states put together. So it's a gargantuan sum of money. and again, happened late. One positive thing is there had been a proposal from the governor that would have greatly impacted rural school districts by removing the so-called hold harmless protections that they have. That did not make it into the final budget, and there was bipartisan pushback against that, especially from rural Republicans like Mr. Gilio, Mr. Borello, Mr. O'Mara. So Albany continues to be a problem as far as the scale of things that are going on and being a little out of touch from the real world here in Allegheny County. But nevertheless, I know that though technically I'm not Mr. Gilio's chief of staff anymore at the moment because of other things that are going on, I know that he is very proud to represent all of Allegheny County and to continue to work hard for all of you. And I know I can say the same for Mr. O'Mara and Mr. Borello. And I would want to reiterate, if we could just make the rest of the state of New York think a little bit more like Allegheny County, I think things would run a lot smoother. But I'm so proud to be here among friends, and I know that all of you know that I'm open to you at any time I can be helpful to you. Don't ever hesitate to call, and I look forward to working together. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mr. Sokolinski. Okay, at this time, we'd like to open privilege of the floor and ask Dr. Anderson, Ms. Lewis, and Ms. Hackett, and Ms. White, if they would please come to the podium. This one. The big one. They're going to talk to you about this month's mental health. So you have the privilege of the floor. Who wants to start?
I also wanted to introduce Lindy White, that I'm sure all of you know, if not in person, certainly by name, because she does the day-to-day functioning of community services. So we did not come prepared with presentations on purpose. We wanted to be able to have you remember what the proclamation says. We wanted to have you remember what is happening in May and why it is so important for us to remember mental health and why people in need of mental health services deserve respect and acceptance and understanding. They do not deserve to be treated out of hand. They do not deserve to be treated as though they are deliberately trying to make their lives miserable and ours by extension. I also thought that it was interesting today to come and find that Ron Truax was being honored because for 16 years he chaired Human Services during a period of change when we were going through a lot of previous changes, not unlike what we're doing the last 2 or 3 years. So I will give each of the three of them an opportunity if they would like to speak. Sharon Hackett is the president of the Allegheny County Mental Health Association. She is extremely good at that. She is a little bit shy, slightly reticent to speak in public, but I am going to impose on her to at least say hi and talk a little bit about the Mental Health Association.
He's bad. He didn't tell me that I would have to say anything. And yes, I do not like to speak in public. Though I did get a 4.0 in public speaking because he felt bad for me. But that's about it. The mental health program is very good because within that program, or the board, there's the ComPeer programs for adult and youth. And we provide services to them, their family, and more support. To me, there's not enough support for the mentally handicapped people in this area, and hopefully someday it will improve. I don't know what else to say. We are having a meeting May 13th. Maybe some of you would like to attend. It's a luncheon. It's at the Andover Fire Department, and we are going to discuss a lot of the problems with the homeless that's in this area and see where we came off from last year. We had the same. The board's going to be there from several agencies. So if you'd like to attend, it'd be wonderful and see what's going on with us. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello. I was here about a year ago. I gave a very lengthy presentation about our services, so I won't do that again today. But just want to say thank you for taking the time to just recognize and acknowledge that May is Mental Health Month. For anybody that has ever had to reach out for help, it's so courageous. And, this is something that it's most definitely impacted everybody in this room one way or another throughout, your lifetime. So really, my message today is just thank you. And I think also to anybody that hasn't yet reached out for help and isn't ready, we'll be here waiting with open arms, ready for you when you all are. And I think, lastly is just thanking all of our community partners. The spirit of collaboration in this county is immeasurable. And, the work that we do at Clarity, we really wouldn't be able to accomplish without all of, the support and partnerships. So thank you.
I don't think they left me much to say, but I definitely want to say thank you for the support that we are given in terms of being able to serve the mentally ill population of the county, and the support means a lot. It's important to us, but it's important to the people of Allegheny County who suffer from mental health and need that support to realize that they are not forgotten. And there are people out there who think about them and want what's best for them. So thank you for giving us that support and being able to provide them with the services that they need.
Thank you. Thanks very much, and to the legislature and the other department heads, and that even includes the administrator, for everything that they do, not for Lindy and me, but for what they do for the community. The task of trying to keep track of what community services does is not easy for the treasurer, the county attorney, or the administrator. Sometimes I think we make life more difficult for them than the bigger departments because we're so hard to find. And frankly, we're very appreciative to them for helping us find a new place to move. Will be easier to find, unfortunately, but we are appreciative of that. Thank you again.
Yes, thank you very much for all you do. It's a very serious issue in Allegheny County. We just did, as legislators, step up and purchased a new building, or in the process of, to move them into a much better needed building and to move this forward. So there'll be a lot more going forward with this, and we thank what they do. And with that, I have the privilege to read off a proclamation. Whereas mental health is part of an overall health, and mental health helps to sustain an individual's thought, process, relationships, productivity, and ability to adapt to change or face adversity. And whereas mental illness adversity affects those abilities and can be life-threatening in nature. And whereas many people experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives in any given year, and such problems can contribute to the onset of mental illness. And whereas the area where someone lives plays a significant role in their overall health and well-being, surroundings can impact if, how, and when a person's needs are met, which in turn affects mental health. And having safe, stable, and healthy environmental conditions sets the foundation for achieving and maintaining good mental health. Whereas the value of recovery is well documented, and people seeking help should expect to be met by a recovery-oriented behavioral health system and the knowledge and expectation that anyone can recover and or manage their condition successfully. And whereas with early and effective interventions, those individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead full productive lives. And whereas recovery is highly personal and occurs via many pathways, and recovery is characterized by continual growth and improvement in one's health and wellness that may involve setbacks, and these setbacks are a normal part of the recovery process and not simply a moral failing. And whereas every citizen and community can make a difference in helping end the silence and stigma that for too long has surrounded mental illness and discouraged people from getting help, in each business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizen shares the responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention efforts. And whereas every person, including those affected by mental illness, deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. And whereas the Allegheny County Legislature is very proud of the efforts of all mental health care providers, public and private, in rendering services to the residents of Allegheny County. Now, therefore, I, W. Brooke Harris, Chairman of the Allegheny County Board of Legislators, on behalf of the members of the legislature, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2024 Mental Health Month in Allegheny County to increase public understanding of the importance of mental health and to promote identification and treatment of mental health. Thank you. Proclamation is presented to you guys for the month of May.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want some pictures, right?
Oh.
Stand by.
No, you.
Okay, on our desk.
On your desk is a copy of the May calendar. Are there going to be any changes? There are currently 2 committee of the whole meetings on the calendar, Wednesday, May 1st at 9 a.m. and Wednesday, May 15th at 9:30 a.m. Also on, well, you probably don't have a physical copy, but the 22 journals are available. They're available in physical print, electronically, and they're also on our website. We received the 2023 annual reports from Employment and Training, Public Defender, Stop DWI, Veterans, and Workers' Compensation, and they were all emailed out to you. Pursuant to Article 11 of the New York State Real Property Tax Law, County Treasurer Terry Ross filed a certificate of withdrawal of delinquent tax lien for property in the town of Belfast in my office on April 11th. Vice Chairman Demick read the proclamation declaring May as Mental Health Month in Allegheny County.
Resolutions?
Resolution intro number 18724, adoption of local law intro number 1, 2024, print number 1, a local law amending local law number 2 of 2021, authorizing 12 and 13-year-old licensed hunters to hunt deer with a firearm or crossbow during hunting season with the supervision of an adult licensed hunter. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Can I get a motion? Mr. Stockton, second. Mr. Fanton? Discussion? Could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfelt?
Yes.
Mr. Stockton? Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton? Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Here, yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Motion carried. Could I please get a motion to consider resolution intro number 202-24 to be moved out of order? Ms. Hanchett, motions. Mr. Havy, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried.
Resolution intro number 20224. Resolution recognizing and thanking Ronald Truax for his extraordinary contributions to the betterment of Allegheny County. All legislators are sponsoring this resolution. It was not pre-filed and it will require a 2/3 vote to consider from the floor.
Can we get a motion on the 2/3? Ms. Hanchett? Mr. Ricky, seconds. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, can we get a motion on the resolution? Mr. Healy makes a motion, Mr. Ricky seconds. Could I have This resolution was put together by District 2 legislators, whereas the Allegheny County Board of Legislators wishes to recognize community members who exemplify the spirit of volunteerism and service. Whereas Ronald Ron Truax was born and raised in Cuba, New York, and graduated from both Houghton University and Alfred University, and whereas he has participated as an active member of the Clarksville Fire Department for over 45 years, including many terms as chief and assistant chief, and has been a driver for the Clarksville Ambulance Service for 10 years. Whereas Ron served as Clarksville Town Supervisor from 1984 to 1994, was re-elected to that position in 2010, and continues to lead Clarksville in that role. Whereas Ron was a county legislator representing District 2 from 1994 to 2009, serving as vice chairman from 1996 to 2006, chairman of the board's Human Services Committee for 16 years, and as a member of the Ways and Means, Public Safety, Personnel, and Technology Committees. Whereas he has further represented the county as a member of the Board of Health, Citizens Advisory Council to the Office for the Aging, Community Services Board, and the Friendship Empire Zone. And whereas Mr. Truax has been active with Gills Hills Ministries in Wellsville, the Obi Community Church in Clarksville, and the West Clarksville Baptist Church, where he has served in many capacities, including as board member, trustee, and deacon. Whereas for 23 years, Ron and his wife, April, served as part of a medical mission team to Jamaica, providing medical and dental care to those in need. The pair has been married for over 50 years, are the proud parents of 3 children, and enthusiastic grandparents of 13 grandchildren. Therefore, now be it resolved that the Allegheny County Board of Legislators recognizes Ronald Truax for his contributions towards the betterment of Allegheny County and expresses gratitude and appreciation for these contributions and looks forward to his continued examples of dedication to the community service. Thanks, Ron. If you want to bring, don't run off. If you want to bring any members of your family up here, we're going to do some pictures. Would you like to say anything first? I know you're. Oh, geez, you're not all that yet. Can we get a voice vote on this resolution, please? All in favor? Those opposed? Carried. Now you're good, buddy. You're good now. Right. Go ahead and make some comments. We'll get some people up here for pictures.
Well, I thank you for this honor. It's been a privilege to serve town of Clarksville in Allegheny County for all these years. I never really planned on this being a career, but it's kind of worked out that way. And I thank you again for this honor.
Oh, thank you.
I thank my family for allowing me and putting up with me going to meetings all these years. So
I'm sure.
thank you.
Great. You guys want to come up and join him for some pictures, please? Thanks, Ron.
Resolution intro number 18824, appointment of Ashley A. Smith as Director of Economic Development. This resolution is also being sponsored by all legislators.
Can I get a motion? Ms. Root, seconded by Mr. Havy. We get any discussion? It's going to be voice voted. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
Resolution intro number 18924, resolution continuing agricultural district number 1 with modifications. This resolution is being offered by the Resource Management Committee and has committee approval.
Motion by Mr. Kern, second by Ms. Hanchett. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent. Resolution intro number 19024, approval of the purchase of property located in the town and village of Wellsville, New York from Employee Services LLC, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute the necessary documentation for the purchase of property, establishment of new capital ARPA fund project account number H1635 for the purchase and renovation of said property, approval and appropriation of American Rescue Plan Act funds for the purchase and renovation of said property. This resolution is being offered by the Public Works and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion by Mr. Fanton. I get a second. Mr. Havey. Any discussion? Mr. Seer?
Mr. Chairman, I have a few issues with this. First of all, I feel this should have been discussed with the Village of Wellsville before this type of service was put in this area. The second issue I have, it's not listed anywhere in the 2024 budget for payment for this building. I guess the third issue I have, it's going to take a very nice neighborhood and basically turn it into a ghetto and counterfeit the current neighborhood in that situation as it is right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
No.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
13 ayes, 1 no, 1 absent. And that resolution was approved. Resolution intro number 19124, creation of one full-time position of Deputy Sheriff Lieutenant within the Sheriff's Office. This resolution is being offered by the Public Safety Committee and has committee approval.
Motion by Mr. Havey. Second by Mr. Rumsfeld. Any discussion? Mr. Barnes?
Yeah, I must have missed it, but I assume that this was included in the budget for '24?
I can address this one. So this position, we're just by this resolution, we are just creating the position to be available for the sheriff's department. This does not mean, by creating this by passing this resolution, this does not mean that you are filling this resolution or putting individual into this position.
I actually think that they passed it at Ways and Means, permission to fill pending creation, so.
Oh, that is correct. Yeah, sorry.
And it's not in the budget, however, they may have, the specific position's not in the budget, however, they may have extra funds in their point ones, which is the personnel portion of your budget to fund this.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
And Mr. Healy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
That motion is approved. Could I get a motion to block resolutions intro number 192-24 through 194-24 to consider together? Mr. Ricky, motion. Ms. Root, seconds. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried.
Resolution intro number 19224, approval of grant application to the Volunteer Fire Infrastructure and Response Equipment Grant Program for the Office of Emergency Services. Resolution intro number 19324, approval of grant application for emergency management performance fiscal year 2024 for the Office of Emergency Services. Resolution 19424, approval of grant application to Homeland Security Grant Program 2023, the New York State Homeland Security Program, and the New York State Law Enforcement Terrorism Prevention Program for the Office of Emergency Services. These resolutions are being offered by the Public Safety Committee and have committee approval.
Motion by Mr. Havy, second by Mr. Seer. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfelt?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Motion is carried.
Resolution intro number 19524, approval of budget transfer within the Sheriff's Office to cover additional costs for kitchen equipment. This resolution is being offered by the Public Safety and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion by Mr. Havy, second by Mr. Seer. Discussion. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales? Yes. Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfelt?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Okay, could I get a motion to block resolutions intro number 196-24 through 198-24 to consider together? Motion by Ms. Hanchett, second by Mr. Ricky. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? That motion's carried.
Resolution intro number 19624, establishing a new capital project account H5133 for the Friendship Shop at the S-Curves on County Road 20 in the town of Friendship. Approval of agreement between the County of Allegheny and Hunt Engineers, Architects, Land Surveyors, and Landscape Architect, DPC, for the schematic design and design development of the Friendship Shop at the S-Curves on County Road 20 in the town of Friendship, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. Resolution intro number 19724, approval of amendment number 1 to the agreement between the County of Allegheny and Hunt Engineers, Architects, Land Surveyors, and Landscape Architect DPC for the proposed S-Curves DPW and Transit Facility Buildings for the Department of Public Works, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. Resolution intro number 19824, approval of amendment number 1 to the agreement between the County of Allegheny and Hunt Engineers, Architects, Land Surveyors, and Landscape Architect DPC for the Water and Wastewater Design Project for the Department of Public Works, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Public Works and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion by Mr. Fanton, second by Mr. Healy. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfelt?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick? Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
That motion's carried.
Resolution intro number 19924. Approval of supplemental agreement number 4 between the County of Allegheny and Popley Architecture and Engineering and LS DPC doing business as Popley Design Group for the replacement of Pine Street Bridge over Canacadea Creek, PIN 6754.94, Town of Alfred, Alfred University Campus for the Department of Public Works, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Public Works Committee and has committee approval.
Motion from Mr. Fanton, second by Mr. Seer. Any discussion? Roll vote, please.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Stocken? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick? Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
That is carried.
Resolution intro number 224. Approval of agreement between the County of Allegheny and Tremco Omnia Contract number R230404 for the replacement of the roofs on the old courthouse and the Weights and Measures Building for the Department of Public Works, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Public Works Committee and has committee approval.
Motion by Mr. Fanton, second by Mr. Havy. Any discussion? Roll vote, please.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Stocken? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Abstain.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton? Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
12 ayes, 2 absent, 1 abstaining.
The motion is carried.
Resolution intro number 20124. Approval of memorandum of agreement between the County of Allegheny and the Public Employees Federation, AFL-CIO. This resolution is being offered by the Personnel and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval. It was not pre-filed and it will require a 2/3 vote to consider from the floor.
Motion on the 2/3. Mr. Rumsfeld, second by Mr. Kern. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Can I get a motion for the resolution? Mr. Ricci? Mrs. Ricketts Swales? Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Stocken? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick? Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Motion's carried. Thank you. How would you like your audit?
Collectively and by totals, please.
Okay. Oh, a second. Mr. Fanton? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
General government support, $212,355.20. Education, $5,936.73. Public safety, $164,466.73. Health, 21,631.18. Bus transportation, 109,149.52. Economic assistance and opportunity, 844,532.65. Culture and recreation, 8,144.33. Home and community services, 32,984.94. Employee benefits, 6,585.38. Our general fund totaled 1,405,786.66. Payroll and taxes totaled 1,256,076.35. Our capital fund totaled 768,243.46. Our other funds totaled 240,627.73, for a grand total of 3,670,734.20.
We get a motion for the audit as read. Mr. Ricci, seconded by Ms. Ricketts Wales. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root? Yes. Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Seer?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Mr. Rumsfeld, could we have a motion to adjourn, please?
Mr. Chairman, as there appears to be no other business to come before the Board of Legislators this afternoon, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
All right, second. Mr. Havy? All in favor? Carried.